Canine vaginal cytology. For decades, veterinarians and old school dog breeders have been doing vaginal cytology in order to time when is the best time to perform their breedings to get the biggest litters and make sure that their females get pregnant. Well, canine cytology has been super helpful, especially when you have a dog that's giving you a tricky heat, like a silent heat, or it's just a very inexpensive way to find out when the dog is ready to be bred. Say you don't have a progesterone machine, or if you want to do what we do and basically do it alongside your progesterone machine to maximize your results and get the biggest size litters possible. So inexpensively, less than the cost of a vet visit, all you need is a canine cytology kit and a compound light microscope, and you can easily start timing when your females are ready to be bred. Stay tuned on this episode of Breeders Hacks. You're not going to want to miss this episode. I don't think anyone on the internet has really done a full-blown episode on canine cytology and how to do it. Stay tuned. All right, guys.
I got you right now. What's going on, bully fam?
All right, so canine cytology. This is something that you can easily do at home. I'm going to show you guys step by step because I haven't seen any videos on the internet on how to do it. Essentially, what you're going to need is really just two things. You're going to need a canine cytology kit, which you can get super inexpensively, like I said, less than the cost of like a vet visit, and then a compound light microscope. You can grab, any kind of compound light microscope, and then with the cytology kit, one kit is going to last you for a very long time. Each time you test a dog, it's probably going to be you're talking about 25 cents a test. That's way cheaper than any progesterone test I've ever ran. So once you have your kit, once you have your microscope, I'm going to show you guys step by step what to do. I'm so excited that Hoke actually came out with one because I don't really know of any cytology kits readily available in the United States. They're all usually in different countries. So to be able to have one now here in the US, that's amazing. So when you have your cytology kit, the one from Hoke, for example, it's going to come with some cotton swabs. You're going to need some cotton swabs. You're going to need your stains, red stain and your blue stain. You're going to also have your spray, right? And then you're going to have these 3 containers as well. What's nice is the additional add-on that came with it is also you get this container here, if I can open this correctly, which basically it allows you to hold microscope slides in here. So I'm going to explain what this is for later, but the most important thing when doing a cytology is making sure that you have your sterile cotton swabs, your stains, your spray, and your sterile containers. And what's even better, you actually come with an instruction manual on how to use it as well too. Let's actually get started now. We're going to grab our dog and I'm going to show you guys. She actually just came in to eat, so I'm going to show you guys how to perform this test properly. So we have a female here that's in heat, right? She's been bleeding, so on and so forth. She's, I believe, 4 or 5 days into her heat cycle. So all you're going to do is take your cotton swab that comes with your cytology kit. You're going to open that up, right? I like to have gloves on because I don't want to get any blood or anything on me. Yet again, you want to do this when the dog is in heat. You're going to go ahead and you see how she has a very swollen vulva. What you can also do is you could put a little bit of distilled water on this if you wanted. But usually when they're in heat, it's no problem. You'll go ahead and take the Q-tip and go up, right? Up, all the way up, as if you're doing an AI. And then go up and then simply twist a couple of times. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Just a couple of times like that. Just to get those vaginal cells onto the Q-tip. So once you've done that, you can pull it out. And there you go. Right on the Q-tip. So now essentially, literally, that's it. We're done. We don't need the dog anymore. So it's a lot more less invasive than, say, drawing the blood on a dog and doing a progesterone test or whatever the case may be. That's it. That's all we need from the dog. And I'll put a picture somewhere here of the diagram just so you guys can see. You're going to go up and over, and then twist to get the vaginal cells. And now how you see how there's some color on there? Those are all the vaginal cells that we're going to go ahead and now examine underneath the microscope. So once you have your cotton swab with the vaginal cells collected, as we said, we just simply went up and over, almost like you're doing an AI, and then an artificial insemination, and then we just twisted just a couple of times to collect vaginal cells on this Q-tip. So now that we have it collected and it's filled with vaginal cells, we're just going to put this to the side, but we want to make sure that we're not placing it on anything or ruining the vaginal cells. So I got it tilted, slanted on this right now. And then the next thing that we're going to want to do is now get things prepared so we can get all our vaginal cells on the slide. So you have 3 sterile containers here, you have your 2 stains, and you have your spray. What we're going to do at first is take our slide, just like this, and you're going to take the vaginal cells that are on this swab right here, and you're going to press down and roll. And you're just going to roll. I always start halfway on the slide and then just work my way down. And I will continue. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I will continue to just roll down the slide. And remember, you don't want to smear. You don't want to push it like this. You want to roll, twist, and roll. And as you can see now, this is covered with vaginal cells. There's like a smear that appears to be on the slide. Is essentially this Q-tip. We could put this aside. We don't need it anymore. So now you're going to take your spray and you're going to spray the slide from about like 6 inches away, and maybe like 2 or 3 times. Oh. That's it. That's all I need. So now what I'm going to do is, this is the side that we did the smear on, and this is the side that we sprayed our spray, right? That spray, I guess, essentially preserves the slide, something to that degree. It basically keeps the material on the slide when we do the next step that I want to show you guys. So the first thing is spray. So the next step is that we're going to go ahead and take our sterile containers and get them loaded with what we need, right? So you have your 2 stains. So basically, 1 sterile container is going to get filled with just regular water, but now you have 2 other ones, and these 2 go to your 2 stains that are here. So you're going to go ahead and just basically just fill them up. This is number 1. And here's stain number 2. And you're just going to fill basically to like the top line on the sterile container. All we're going to be doing is dunking our slide into it. So there's no mathematical science to how much stain you pour in. So now our sterile containers are all filled. So this is our first stain, this is our second stain, and then this is our diluted, the water right here. So these can get put away for safekeeping. This is what we're going to be using, right? So what I do is I go ahead and now take the tops off of each one. And now that we've let the slide sit just for a couple of minutes, because basically what you want to do is you want the spray to basically evaporate. That's what you're waiting for. So now that we've let the spray on the slide evaporate, we're ready to start doing our dunking. So essentially what you're going to go ahead and do is take your microscope slide, and we're going to dunk it. You can either keep it submerged or dunk it for about 10 to 15 dunks with your first stain. Then you're going to dunk it for about 5 to 10 dunks with your second stain, or hold it for 5 to 10 seconds. And then you're going to do another 4 to 5 dunks or 4 to 5 seconds in your water. So here we go. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right. 15. That's 15 dunks. And now we're going to do 10 dunks here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're going to go ahead and do our 4 dunks in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And basically what we did was we stained the slide. So there's no more crazy, dark stain on the slide. What's basically happening is we're dipping in each stain, and what it's causing is basically the little microscopic cells that are on the slide, we're staining them. So now we can visually see them way better when we go ahead and we put this on the microscope. So I'm going to show you guys. We're just going to let this essentially, and the front, I always keep this in my memory, the front is where all the cells are. So we're going to let this dry for a few minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and put this on the microscope. All right, guys? So once we've let our slide air dry, and it's been sitting for a couple of minutes, so all the liquid has completely run off and is dried up, we can now go ahead and put our slide underneath our compound light microscope. So all you do is you go ahead and take the slide like this, put it right underneath the microscope. And as you can see now, you can see literally all the individual vaginal cells right here on the screen. You can see the vaginal cells very clearly, right? And what makes it so helpful and useful is the fact that the Cytology kit already comes with images as to where the dog's stage in heat may be. You know, it gives you the entire breakdown. I'm going to explain it to you guys real quickly looking at this. Basically, when you're looking at vaginal cytology, when the dog is in heat and when she's ready are two different types of cells that you'll see. So when the dog isn't ready, they're going to look like fried eggs. It's going to look like a big old circle with a circle inside of it, like a fried egg, the yolk, the nucleus to the vaginal cells. That's what we see right here, and we see plenty of them. So that tells me that she's not quite ready yet. She still has time. If we continue to look throughout the microscope slide, that's what we continue to see all over the place from that slide that we just did. So I just wanted you guys to see this firsthand. See, we're looking all over, and majority of them are these fried egg looking things with a nucleus or a yolk inside the center. That tells me she's not ready. She's very early in her heat, so we knew she wasn't going to be ready. Fortunately, I do have a slide of a dog in the past that actually was ready to be bred. So I want to show you guys what that looks like, because he looks completely different from what we're looking at right here in the microscope slide. So I'm going to take this off. And what's so good about this is actually this kit comes with like a little, it's like a cassette. It's like a case that holds all your slides. And then basically you could write the dog's name, what the progesterone level was, what the date was, anything like that. It gives you, so you can notate and write down each slide based off of the number. So it's numbered 1 through 25, and then it has a 1 through 25 here that you can write things down. As I was saying, I have a slide of a dog that actually was ready to be bred. So I'm going to show you guys now what that looks like. What I want you guys to be mindful of is don't mind the color, because depending on how many times you dip it in the stain and so on and so forth, the color doesn't matter. But what you're looking for is essentially cornification. What's cornification mean? Basically when the cells, her vaginal cells have changed. So if you look at her now, the cells are no longer usually like round like a fried egg. They've gotten more sharper now. They're more sharper and they're more swept together now. When you see them like that, collectively swept together, like it looks like broken glass. Yep, broken glass, and there's no more egg yolk. There's no more center to the cell. That's when you know that the dog is ready and we can do our breeding. And I know for a fact with this slide here, we actually did the breeding and the dog did wind up having puppies. So that's how I know this is a good slide to be able to use. And I use this as educational purposes. So as you can see, there's virtually no cells, very, very few to none that actually have that center inside of them. And as you can see, majority of them are without the nucleus in the center, broken up looking pieces of glass with sharp edges. And that tells you when the dog is essentially ready. And you can see there's plenty here, plenty. You may see a nucleus here and there, but it should be very minimal. What's so great about this is basically in the Cytology kit, it shows you what the cells should look like. But the most important thing is basically when you see that fried egg looking cell, you know that the dog is not ready. If you see that there's sharp edges now and you no longer see the nucleuses, those centers inside the cells, or very few of them, the dog is most likely ready. So that's just a quick example. So I'm going to go back to our last slide, the one that we just did of our dog, and I'm going to compare it to progesterone. So I'm going to take this slide off because we no longer need it. So yet again, as we were saying, with our original dog, plenty of nucleuses, plenty of centers inside all the eggs, the fried eggs, like I said. So that's why they call it cornification. That's the process. From these cells going to the other cells is called cornification because they look like little corn chips. So they start out as like a fried egg and then they turn into a corn chip. So that's why they call it cornification. Once the dog has undergone cornification, they generally say the dog is going to be ready to be bred. Knowing what this looks like here in the slide, I'm going to say that the dog obviously is not ready to be bred yet. And as the cells start to look more and more like the cells I just showed you previously on the dog that was ready, that's going to tell us that the dog is closer and closer to getting ready. So looking at this here, I would predict that the dog is obviously not ready yet. Well, we did a progesterone test with blood to find out where the dog is at in her heat cycle, right? And when we did the progesterone test, sure enough, the dog was an 11.94, meaning that she's not ready yet to be bred. I mean, hey, the progesterone machine is agreeing with it. Cytology is saying that she's not ready. So I'm going to venture and say that the dog is not quite ready yet, especially when we went to go put the Q-tip in. She kind of wasn't really all that receptive yet. So that tells me completely based off of the signs of the dog, the body language, the dog is not quite ready to be bred. But cytology is a great way to indicate if the dog is ready to be bred. I just wanted to show this to you guys in comparison to progesterone, and so you guys can see. And when we did have that slide that I showed you guys earlier of the dog that was ready on progesterone, the dog was ready as well. So this is another great way to be able to tell when a dog is ready to be bred. So that's how you do your own vaginal cytology and interpret the results, right? So with vaginal cytology, vets have been doing it for forever. There's just some key things that I wanted to cover though, in case you guys have any questions. So one of the things being is vaginal cytology is extremely helpful in the uses. How like we use it, for example, is we do it in conjunction with progesterone testing. So we do it side by side with progesterone testing just to ensure that we're being as accurate as possible to get the dog pregnant. Because if you breed the dog at the right time, you will get the largest size litter possible. So it's all about timing when you're doing your breedings. So another thing with vaginal cytology is extremely helpful and useful for, say, people who, that don't have a progesterone machine or are waiting to save up to purchase one or whatever the case it may be. Maybe they don't quite have a progesterone machine yet and they want to be able to do some testing at home. Well, you can continue to reuse these. We could empty this out, put fresh water, and these stains are still good, for at least like a month or two. The test is super inexpensive and you can continuously do these at home for, you're talking about cents most likely. For people who don't have a progesterone machine, cytology is an awesome way to go until you can get your progesterone machine. The reason why I say until you can get your progesterone machine, because of the fact that cytology, in my opinion, is not quite as accurate as progesterone testing. That's why we do it side by side. So progesterone machine always usually going to be more accurate, in my opinion. So this is something that you would want to do while you're doing your progesterone testing. Or maybe while you're getting your progesterone test done at the vet, you could be doing this at home and comparing side by side, whatever the case may be. It gives you a slide case so that then, say, if you are progesterone testing with your vet, you can see the changes and match it up with their numbers, whatever the case may be. Another thing with cytology is you may want to do cytology, and I've done this, is when you have a dog that has a split heat. So say you keep running through your tests when you're doing your progesterone test, you keep running through, and next thing you know, you're spending a ton of money on progesterone tests just for a split heat. So what you can do is a cytology. So that's usually what we'll do. If the dog goes into a split heat, which a split heat just generally means that the dog is coming up into heat, stays here, or drops down a little bit, and then stays there for quite some time, and then eventually, after the course of weeks, could be 2-3 weeks, maybe even more, after the course of weeks that the dog hasn't been ready to be bred, but is in heat, then you could do cytology every couple of days or every week or whatever the case may be to save money on your test strips. I'll do cytology, and I've had that happen where the female was in heat and she went to a 14 and she wouldn't go past it. And for like 3 weeks, we just did nothing but cytology until we saw the quantification in the cells. We tested her. We did a progesterone test as well. And boom, she was ready to be bred because we saw the quantification on the cells. It's nice, instead of having to continuously draw blood on the dog, you can do a cytology easily at home. And it's super non-invasive, and it doesn't really bother the dogs that much. You could do a cytology every other day if you wanted to. So besides the point, when it comes to cytology, those are just some key things that I wanted to cover because, it's extremely useful and extremely helpful, and we still do these to this day, even though it's an older system than like doing progesterone testing or something like that. The booklet that it comes with is worth its weight in gold, because I remember when I learned vaginal cytology, not only did I have to buy my own kit, but I also had to pay for the vet to actually teach me how to do it. And back in the day, vets that would be wanting to teach you, it's probably like 1% of breeders that were even able to access a vet that would show them. So with this, what's amazing is you could buy your kit, you have training that comes essentially with it, with the manual, and you're ready to start rocking and rolling. So I encourage you guys, check out the booklet. It shows what has like non-cornified cells, what are cornified cells, and the whole cornified process, and just how to interpret the results and how to do a proper vaginal cytology. I'm excited about this kit. I think we're going to have this up on BreedersHacks.com because of the fact that, like I said, I have never seen a kit like this in the US. Super exciting, guys. Super excited. A new, inexpensive way that you can do at home on how to test your own dog. So anyway, guys, I hope this information was helpful. I hope it's useful. Drop a comment down below and let us know your experience when it comes to vaginal cytology. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of Breeders Hacks.